What's up, guys? It's Minx. In the last video, we started adding more textures to our game. I haven't found to fix that thing yet. I didn't really look yet to where like it would start at this thing, this like block instead of like, or this box instead of like proceeding. I haven't really looked at a fix for that yet. That's not really what my focus was. I wanted to crank out another video that would be super useful, I think, just progressing certain parts of the game. I know I'm kind of like uh, going to like going through different things and stuff like that that aren't super relevant. Um, but I wanted to like go through everything and add touch ups to the game. I don't want us to like build the minimum viable product and then proceed with other things and just kind of forget about it. So in this video, what we're gonna do is if we hit start, I may not be able to because I did some things. Oh, it looks like it's gonna let me. Okay. We're still getting 210. I try and create a new level. If we like spawn in a block here, it's blue. If we do red, it's blue. If we do green, it's blue. We're gonna fix this. I don't like this. This bugs me. So what I want to do is add when I add these, I want to assign these to the correct values. But what I tried to do was use mirroring or other methods to try and get the info from the block so that we could change. But for now, we're just going to do integers and just be like, hey, this is the integer, use this texture or whatever. So it's not ideal, but it'll work for now. I apologize that I couldn't find the best system for it. I really wish I could have. So first things first is I actually don't think I showed you guys adding the sign because that was something I was trying to do a live actions like, well, I hit a long roadblock that took over 20 minutes to figure out. So I kind of scrapped that. I didn't get rid of everything though. So what I changed was firstly in game window. Okay, well, we'll have to do two things at once. So in game window, where we add our registry for loading levels, I added, so we have a wall, a box, and then a sign. Sign is C. I don't know if we've done this already. If we haven't, add this, and type of sign is going to fail if you haven't added it already. If we haven't added it, let's go to our wall.cs where we have our walls. Let's add wall. We have wall, we have box, which is 99 here. And then we have a new class sign, which is the same thing as box and wall essentially, but it has wall textures 132 instead of 99. You may also see we have something called collider enabled. I added this to our iDynamic. So what happens is if the collider is not enabled, it will not collide with that object. So we have like a sign we can ignore, for example. So we add this to our iDynamic and then implement this on everything. So on wall, I have it enabled by default. So I added a new public bool, said collider enabled equals true. And then collider enabled gets the collider enabled variable. And then for things where it doesn't really matter, I think I did put it on player as a, go back to player here. I did put it in as a variable as well here, I think, even though we're probably not going to use it. Yeah, collider enable collider. I did do it there. I think on there was something. Maybe it was placeable. Yeah, placeable, because it's also got an iDynamic here. I just referred it to equal true instead of a variable, because since we're in a level designer when we do that, if we add like a setup to like test the level that we're working on, then it's likely that would probably well, we wouldn't need it anyway, because what we would do is load the level that was designed as a actual level and then play it. But that's pretty much, those are pretty much the changes. So we added that and then we added it to the onload so that way we have A, B, and C. So to set up our thing here, our like placeables. So placeable is where a lot of the logic went into for this, or a lot of logic's going to go into, because what we need to do is tell the placeable what texture to use, as well as to translate that texture, and we need to see why. So up till now, I know it doesn't really look like it because they technically like move and stuff, but if we like go in here and we hit play, create a new level, so this GUI is the only thing that really moves with the screen. Like these other things, like are staying in the same world space. So if we were to like try and move this block, it would actually move the text. Like the texture would stay. It wouldn't move with it. So, for example, I think like it happens in like cartoons like Chowder, if I remember correctly. There's like some like background things where it's like if the character moves, like the image is not moving with the characters, so like it's weird. It's hard to describe. We'll see it when we're going through testing here. When we need to fix that as well. That took me a while to fix. That was what the hangup was. I figured it out. It was surprisingly easy. So what we want to do here is we want to change my visual. We can leave it to that name. I changed it over to new solid brush. Just you can get rid of that. We're just gonna make it a just get rid of any or identifier and or reference to an object, and just say it's a texture brush, just like we've been doing. I know I was hoping that we could just leave these as brush and then like set them up to texture brushes later, but it just doesn't make sense. So we can register first, that's fine. But we do need to say, let's see, am I in the right spot? I am in the right spot. Am I doing everything? Yeah, I guess I am, okay. So we need to say this dot my visual equals new texture brush. This dot game dot wall textures. I've made that public. If you haven't already made that public, go ahead and do so. And we can actually pass in the index. So add an index if you haven't already. So essentially what we're doing, I know I'm having you guys add things retroactively or proactively, excuse me. I don't usually like to do that. When we go to our game menus and we click on one of these buttons, by default they're all set to 0, but we can change their click value. So that one's clicked to 1, so that'll go to the second object in that list, so that'll go to that gray block. And then it'll spawn a placeable with, we can add obj to it, the obj into that, and I'll tell it, hey, this is the integer that I'm assigning. It may be worth saying, let's see, having the placeables do a lookup of that instead of just doing that. I was trying to find a way to do a lookup, and my mind is still cranking at it because it just bugs me, because we still have to do different identifiers. So what we could do is say, go to game window. If we do an index of 1, well, we could do lists for that, because we would say, let's see, we'll just do like a new list here. We'll say list of, shoot, what would it be? So list of strings first, and it would be list of strings. This is kind of, this is a little on the fly. Identifier by index. Well, can we get the value or the key at index? I think we get the key at index. So we could use that, and then the only thing we need is texture at index, because we can't. So my idea was to get the texture from like wall, box, or sign, but I couldn't get that reflection at least easily. So we're just gonna say list of, this would be an integer, texture indexer equals new list of int. And yeah, so let's make this a public list up here. And this is probably not the ideal way of doing this. Texture index. New list of int, and we can get rid of that identifier thing. We don't need that. It's already set it up. And I'll put this up here. And texture index. Actually, this would be one where we do it like this. So I probably do, let's see. So A is 1, B is 99, and C is 132. This is probably the ugliest way I could have done this. Let me double check and make sure that's true. It's 1 by default. 99, 1, and 132. Okay. So, oops, wrong one. So that's good. So then we could use the texture index with, and the load level map with the placeable. And instead of saying equals new texture brush, we would say all texture. So instead of saying this dot index, we would say this dot game dot texture index dot, let's see, item, or no, not index of, gotta find it. Let's see. The element at index. There we go. So essentially, like a dictionary, we are essentially saying so if we put in a 0 here, so we'd have to toss in a 0, we'd get a 1. If we toss in a 1, we get a 99. If we toss in a 2, we get a 132. And then we can say, go back to the placeable. My block, this dot identifier, we would say this dot identifier equals this dot game dot load level map, and I believe if you haven't made that public, go ahead and make it public. Dot index, not index, element at index, and we want the dot value because we want the A. What is wrong with this? We cast this to a string, maybe? No. Oh no, we don't want the value, we want the key. There we go, because the key's a string. There we go. Cool. And now we should be able to say 0, 1, 2 actually on those, and this should actually set that up with the correct references. I was having trouble thinking of this, but this should work. Anyway, let's move on, because that wasn't the purpose of this video, but I think it's necessary considering what we're doing. So the next thing we want to do is, just like our other things, we want to say, actually we can copy this directly from wall. We need to translate and scale it. So if we go back to placeable, drop these in. Okay. And instead of texture, it should be my visuals. So just paste that over those. And you'd think this would work. It's like, okay, we're applying the texture and we're scaling it and translating it. Let's see what happens. Now keep in mind, we haven't assigned the 0, 1, 2 here, so I think the 2 is just going to do a whatever the 2 is. Oh yeah, it's like this weird block thing. We can see it's off center. Now, oddly enough, it is staying with it, which is kind of weird. It's not like moving, but it's like grabbing random values each time. I don't remember what I determined caused this. I think it was, no, that's right. I thought it was because of the snapping, and it is. So for some reason, like the snap system is causing that. So we can close out of this, and it like grabs like a random like set of like 5 or something because of how the snap works based on where it spawns. I'm not really sure because like even if you don't move, it does that. So we're probably not going to actually. Yeah, we'll see it. So what I did was I commented this out, and then I just did no snapping. I just did my rectangle equals new rectangle position, and then we fill it. So if we do that, it's weird how the behavior reacts. Because now it does this, which is like completely different, all because our rectangles are different. And that's actually because we're making a new rectangle. Well, we're technically making a new rectangle with snap to grid, but it's weird. I don't know how it like reacts that way with that. It seemingly like changes because this is a new rectangle and not treating the other one as a new rectangle. But what we can do is to fix this is go this or put that back. And this is what took me the longest to find. So if we do this dot my visual, I was like, okay, let's go ahead and just transform it. Let's just update the transform to this one. So this was my next thought, was like, okay, we're going to snap it to the grid and then we're going to transform it. So let's go ahead and hit start. And if we spawn one in, we can see that it like constantly moves to the point where it like gets to the edge of it, the texture map, and it can't proceed. So when it does this, so when we call that, it's literally transforming it by the X and Y every frame. So we don't want to call that, or we don't want to call it like this. So we can actually comment this out for now. So it's like, okay, so we need to reset it or only transform it by the amount that is moved. And I'm not calculating the difference to get that. That's stupid, to be honest. So what I did was like, okay, this dot my visual dot, and I just typed in transform. I was like, what can we do with this? And I see we have transform. I actually didn't see reset transform. Object to identity. We might try this. I used transform and I said equal to a new transform. We can try reset transform. Because if that works, we can just do that and then translate it. This was my next iteration, essentially, unless reset transform doesn't do what we need it to. And it looks like it is, so we're going to stick with that. And then we can see here now it's just scaled up, so we just need to fix that real quick. So we just grab the scale transform because we know that logic works. And do that. And actually, as a result, we can probably just comment these out. Not that we really worry too much about it, but we can do that and play. Right? And there we go. It looks like that's going that, and that's also doing that one, because those are zeros, and that's a 1. So what we can do now is assign blue, red, and green these different types. So we'll do game menus here. And this one would be 0. And let's grab this click value thing. Go over here. Oops. Have it. We'll do a 1. Then we'll do here and do a 2. And we can actually give these different names. So this first one would be like gray block, box, and sign. Oops. There you go. Hit start. Okay. We'll do something like this. And these should have the correct identifiers. We got like a box here. And we'll give it a sign and let's test collision. So let's save and exit. Play. Start a new level. Let's go to the bottom. I know we can't tell yet. Default name. And looks like, oh nope, sign loaded in, but we're not colliding with it. We just kind of landed on top of it. So cool. And we collide with the box like expected, and everything works. So we are now loading in textures based on what we selected. I apologize for how I went about this video, to be honest. Future videos won't be like this. I'll go back to my normal methodology. But yeah, so we've got colliding with the boxes. We're not colliding with the sign. In the next video, I think I'm going to focus on the player. I think we're going to do like textures with the player. Now that we figured out moving, I didn't know that was going to be an issue. With the texture, we can do that. And then we can also do like an animation by going through different textures. So that'll be pretty fun. With that said, thank you for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day.